I knew I'd made a mistake the moment I had bought that house in Maplewood Estates. God, did I know, but I had no idea just how far that mistake would go until the day Patricia Henderson darkened my doorstep, clipboard in hand and a smile that could curdle milk. You want to talk about buyer's remorse? Try realizing your own home just became ground zero for a suburban war. I'm Xavier Donovan, 42, software engineer, mostly working from home out in the suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona. That house, a 3-bedroom ranch with a big backyard and a detached garage, seemed perfect for a guy like me. Quiet street, space for grilling on the weekends, even a concrete pad out back where the last owner kept his RV. Me, I had other plans. 3 weeks after moving in, I had 4 massive propane tanks, commercial grade, each one 500 gallons, dropped onto that pad. Folks thought I was nuts. 2,000 gallons of propane for a single guy? But here's the thing. I converted the whole house to propane, installed a generator for all those random Arizona outages, and my garage, my little side world, was a metal workshop. My forge, kiln, and most everything else ran on that same gas. Plus, I bought in bulk when it was cheap. You get the idea. It wasn't a hobby, it was a system. And I did it all right. Permits, licensed contractors, inspections from the fire marshal, county sign-off, the works. What I didn't do: read all 742 pages of the HOA bylaws, covenants, and restrictions. That's a rookie mistake that had come back and bite me hard. Patricia Henderson, president of the Maplewood Estates HOA for almost a decade, showed up on a Tuesday, late September. Mid-50s, hair set like concrete pastel blazers, and those nails, always some color that looked like a threat. She drove a white Mercedes, license plate said Hope, and she wielded her authority like she'd been appointed to the Supreme Court. She gave me that syrupy, welcome to the community routine, but her eyes were already drifting toward my propane tanks. I wanted to discuss something, she said. It's come to our attention you've installed some rather large propane tanks on your property. Yeah, I said, all permitted, all inspected. Is there a problem? Well, not exactly a problem. You know you're in trouble when someone starts a sentence that way. But we do have some concerns. Here in Maplewood Estates, we value sharing, cooperation, community support. She told me some neighbors wanted propane too, didn't have the space, and wouldn't it be wonderfully community-minded if I'd let them hook up to my tanks for a small access fee, just to cover my costs. I thought she was joking. You want me to share my propane tanks? I asked straight-faced, just with a few select neighbors. The Williams want to heat their pool. The Martins are looking at a propane fireplace, and I myself am considering a new range. I said no flat out, not a chance. Her smile tightened. You're being a bit dramatic, Xavier. 2,000 gallons is quite excessive for one person. Surely you could spare some for your neighbors? Even if I had extra, which I didn't, the liability alone would be insane. I explained about insurance, system design, how it was all customized for my own use. Patricia's face went cold. I see. Well, under Section 47, subsection D of our HOA covenants, all property improvements that could be considered community amenities must be made available for shared use, when deemed appropriate by the HOA board. Propane tanks aren't a community amenity, I argued. They're like my water heater or my breaker box, which she asked me to let neighbors plug into my electrical panel, too. That's different, she snapped. The board will discuss this matter at our next meeting. Thursday, 7 p.m., Community Center. I suggest you attend. She turned and left. I just stood there, half tempted to move out that night. Over the next 2 days, I researched Arizona HOA law. Turns out they do have a lot of power, but not unlimited. They couldn't just commandeer private property. But fighting them? That could eat up your time, money, sanity. Thursday came. The community center was set up like a courtroom. Rows of chairs, board members behind a table, Patricia at the helm. For 20 minutes, I sat through debates about Halloween decorations and pool hours, trying to calm my nerves. Then Patricia announced, now, as many of you know, our newest resident has installed significant propane storage. The board believes this presents an opportunity for community resource sharing. The room turned to look at me. Patricia continued, Mr. Donovan has declined to participate in this initiative. She made it sound like I just refused to donate a kidney. A man, Harold, in his 60s, raised his hand. Are we talking about forcing him to share his property? Not forcing, Harold. Encouraging community-minded behavior. Several residents are interested. It seems wasteful for one person to monopolize such a large resource. He paid for it, didn't he? Harold pressed. Seems like it's his business. Patricia started quoting the covenants. That's when I stood up. May I address the board? I said, walking to the front. What's being proposed isn't reasonable or legal. My propane tanks are private property, installed for my use, permitted, insured. Sharing them would violate insurance, create liability, maybe even overload the system. Asking me to supply fuel to other people's homes is like asking me to pay their bills. Patricia interrupted, suggesting liability waivers, usage agreements. I shook my head, didn't matter. I explained my own usage and how there was no excess. Then I asked, would you require someone with a swimming pool to let the whole neighborhood swim? She replied, some neighborhoods do have shared pools. Yes, built with community funds, not someone's private pool. A woman spoke up. Why do you need so much propane? I explained about heating, the generator, my metalwork. A few faces softened. But Patricia, sensing an angle, pounced. You're running a business? That's a separate violation. Section 82 prohibits home-based businesses. I clarified. Software consulting was my work. Metalwork was a hobby. She argued. I pushed back. The meeting turned into chaos, with some folks siding with me, others with Patricia. Harold said, if the HOA wants community propane, they should pay for it, not confiscate Xavier's. After a circular hour, Patricia called for a vote. The board, 4-1, voted in favor of requiring me to provide shared access. She said, you'll receive written notification within 10 business days. If you fail to comply, we'll pursue legal remedies. Sure enough, 10 days later, I got the letter, certified mail, HOA letterhead. The board had designated my propane tanks a community utility resource. I was required to allow 5 households to hook up at $5 a gallon, with the HOA taking a 15% administrative fee. They wanted me to become a propane dealer for the block, with them taking a cut. I called a lawyer, Margaret Shun, HOA specialist. They have absolutely no legal ground, she told me, but that doesn't mean they won't make your life hell trying. She drafted a formal response for me, citing Arizona law. Then came the retaliation. Bright orange violation notice stapled to my front door. Tanks violated aesthetic standards because they were visible from the street. I had 30 days to screen them or face $100 a day fines. More violations followed. Wrong shade of garage door, trash cans on non-collection day, which was actually collection day, grass too long by a 1/4 inch. Margaret called it what it was, harassment. We filed complaints, rebutted every violation. Meanwhile, Patricia started a smear campaign at meetings, at community events, whispering that I was running an illegal business, lowering property values. Some neighbors turned cold, but Harold, bless him, would show up on my porch with a bottle of scotch, reminding me I wasn't alone. A couple weeks later, I got a letter from a law firm. The HOA was formally threatening to sue me for breach of covenant, obstruction of community welfare initiatives, demanding I comply or pay $15,000. Margaret was clear, they were bluffing. They're hoping you'll settle rather than fight. But I'd had enough. If I back down now, they do it to someone else next. I told Margaret, let's fight. She fired off a letter. The HOA upped the ante, filing a suit in court for $50,000 and demanding injunctive relief. Either let them tap into my tanks or remove them. Margaret filed a motion to dismiss. My life became a routine of work, evidence prep, stress, and feeling like a pariah in my own neighborhood. And then something shifted. Harold started talking to other residents, quietly building support. 3 days before our hearing, he called a special homeowners meeting. Room packed, a petition in hand for a vote of no confidence in Patricia and the board. She tried to shut it down, but Harold had done his homework. The recall election would proceed. At the court hearing, the judge, Sawyer, cut straight to the heart. Do you have any precedent that says an HOA can force a homeowner to share private utilities? The HOA's attorney fumbled. Sawyer granted our motion to dismiss with prejudice. The case was dead. Margaret pushed for attorney's fees, and the new HOA board, fresh after the recall, Harold as president, didn't contest it. Judge awarded me $43,000, covering most of what I'd spent on the fight. But the final twist? While reviewing the HOA's books, the new board discovered Patricia had been embezzling funds for years. $120,000 missing. Fake vendor company, phony invoices, it all came to light. Police got involved. Patricia was arrested, charged, and pled guilty to theft and fraud. She got 3 years, maybe out in 18 months, and ordered to pay restitution she'll likely never finish. Under the new board, the neighborhood changed. Clear procedures, more transparency, actual fairness. I got my quiet life back. I taught metalwork to neighbors on weekends, fired up my propane grill for a block barbecue, and for the first time since moving in, I felt at home. Tom, the neighbor who'd once called me selfish, came up at the barbecue and apologized. If you hadn't fought, we never would have known what she was really up to. That's the lesson I learned, the one I want anyone hearing this to remember. Bullies can look like anyone, even a well-dressed woman with a clipboard and a pastel blazer. Standing up for yourself is hard, lonely work, but giving in is worse. And sometimes, just by refusing to be pushed around, you shine a light that exposes more than you ever expected. The neighborhood became what I'd hoped for, a place where people respect each other's rights, where no one tries to run the whole show by force. My propane tanks, those 4 silver Sentinels, still sit quietly out back, fueling my home, my forge, my life, nobody else's. When I pass by them, I remember what they cost me, and what they earned me too: a home, a community, a hard-won peace. So, let me ask you, when does a rule become tyranny? Where's the line between community and control? Have you ever stood your ground and watched the truth come tumbling out, unexpected but needed? I'd love to hear your stories. Drop a comment below. Tell me about your battles, your victories, or just your take on where justice and power should meet. Let's talk about it, because these stories, messy, real, hard-fought, matter.